hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. We're excited to take you through some of the latest updates to Labster's high school solution. If you're completely new to Labster, I would encourage you to maybe go to our website, labster.com, and perhaps sign up for one of our weekly demo webinars to just walk you through the ABCs of the Labster virtual lab solution. Today's presentation will focus more on updates. What's new, what's forthcoming, what's coming soon for 2022, what can you expect for your classrooms and your classes. First, I want to start with just a bit of background though. Labster was founded to make science education accessible for every student, and to help educators, teachers, administrators like yourself help empower that next generation of scientists and science educators too. We really now have an ecosystem of science learning resources on our platform. And this is, of course, everything from our virtual science lab simulations, which is our bread and butter in many ways, but also our lab manuals, our theory pages, our new science 3D animation videos, image libraries, other types of resources. It's a solution that is tailored for in-person learning or hybrid, if that's where you are right now, given the state of the world, but really intended to be flexible to whatever teaching style you have, whatever format your classroom is in at the moment, where your students are at to some degree. And you'll hear today a little bit about how we're updating what our offering is for high school to make it a little bit more tailored to your needs, hopefully. And then finally, the final point I wanted to make is that what really underpins much of what we do here is that we believe every student should have access to a high quality science education in a lab space, right? And as part of that, we're making Labster available in multiple languages. We're creating diverse characters and situations for different types of human experiences, pictured on screen as well. We're doing our best to accommodate hearing and visual impairments. It's all part of the larger Labster mission. So this is our agenda for today. We want to talk a little bit about the Labster roadmap, what's coming soon or what has just come out. We'll record this session, so don't worry if you miss any individual bits. We'll send out a recording of it afterwards, even something that you can share with your colleagues, administrators at your school, wherever else. We'll talk about our new learning content, improvements to access. If there's any Google Classroom users, raise your hand, or Canvas or Schoology or whatever else. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. And please, please, please submit your questions. We want to hear from you. We want to talk with you, even though this isn't a live conversation necessarily. So what we're going to ask you to do on that front, and first of all, here's our team hearing from our large number of our different product managers and experts on our high school team here at Labster. So excited to hear from all of them. But what I would ask you to do is, if you have another tab on your computer, or perhaps you have your phone handy or another screen even, is open up another tab at slido.com. So that's SLIDO.com. Go to slido.com and you will enter in the code. You'll see that there's a space for code Labster-High-School. Labster-High-School, Labster High School at slido.com. And here we can communicate a little bit. We can get some responses from you all. We have some questions, and that is where you can enter all of your questions for the Q&A at the end. So we'd encourage any and all attendees to submit their questions, no matter where you're coming from, friend of the house or not. We would love to talk through it. We have a great group of experts here today, so excited to get into it. But again, that's Slido, SLIDO.com, Labster High School. So to start, I'll give you a moment just to pull this up. If you go to this website that's pictured here, and we're going to ask you a question as soon as you get in. So what we would like to know is, what are you most interested in hearing about today? What are you curious about? What are you looking for updates on in terms of Labster's product and our solution for high school students and teachers? So let's start with this. Go ahead now on that slido.com app. Again, it's Labster-High-School is the code or the reference number. And we'd love to, if anyone has been able to log in, love to hear what your thoughts are on this at this point. I'll just give it a minute here. I hear a Canvas integration change. Usually, folks I know are always curious about the new simulations that we have available, whether you teach biology, earth science, physics. Oftentimes people are curious about any change in our access methods and devices and things like that. So, okay, great. So we have we're going to cover both of these things absolutely. Certainly, we'll have a nice chunk of time for new simulations and more. So. Great. Well, at this point, I would love to turn it over to my colleague Stina. Stina is a product manager for high school here at Labster. She's really the expert, much more so than myself or my colleague Isabel or some others might be. So yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit about what's coming up. Stina, take it away.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. I'm Stina, as Mark said, the PM for high school. So as many of you know, Labster's vision, particularly for high school, is to take a lot of the innovation that we have from learning and game design to empower others to realize their potential through relevant science content that you all use and teach, and a low-cost future of that education. And we hope that we can do this every day, and we're grateful to you for working with us so often. But our focus really going into Q1 and Q2 is around how we can continue to validate some of the formats that you all are using to teach some of the lessons, things like worksheets, shorter simulations, just what motivates someone to want to learn using these types of opportunities. We're also going to be strengthening a lot of our device support in devices that we've long talked about, like iOS and Chromebook. I can't share more details in a very product way, as you all know, but if anyone is curious, I encourage you to reach out and we can definitely share more information. We are targeting the next school year in terms of providing some of this initial simulation release support at least. And then we're also going to continue to increase a lot of our content coverage, offering a lot more simulations in earth and space science, physics, biology, and chemistry. So if anyone has any questions further to this, I'm happy to stick around, as well as Alvin and Anastasia and Joseph speaking a little more as well. But yeah, thanks, Mark.
Hello everyone, my name is Albin Olofsson and I'm a product manager for content, and I'll just briefly touch a little bit upon what we're doing to create a stronger catalog with NGSS alignment. And this is something that we are working in progress. We're looking at adapting current content and plan future content according to NGSS alignment. And we're now mapping out simulations to fit with lessons in each discipline, so it's easy to work. It's also clear what topic it's covered, and also kind of following more of an NGSS aligned lesson plan. We're arranging groups of sims around phenomena to follow NGSS. We're integrating the 3 dimensions of NGSS into the sims. We're making sure that they're building upon each other and have a clear progression. Basically, in the image to the right, basically the lessons going down and building upon each other. And we're also going to add NGSS codes to the sim, so it's more clear where it actually sits. So yeah, and also we're aligning with AP and IB. That's from before. Thank you.
Thank you, Albin, for sharing how we're aligned to NGSS. And not only that, but to AP and IB as well. It's really exciting. And speaking of exciting, can we please go on to the next slide? Yay, we're here. We have released 14 new high school simulations this quarter alone, which is really exciting. And that includes everything from 2 earth sciences, 1 biology, 4 physics, and 7, yes, you heard that, 7 chemistry simulations. And our lovely content team that's here on this webinar today will be talking about each of these simulations a little bit more in depth, so you get a better understanding of what these simulations cover. And on the next slide, thank you so much. Our vision at Labster is to be an interactive virtual science education solution for all. And we really want to ensure that our content is aligned to high school. And one of the many ways that we're doing that is that we are creating what are called short form simulations. These are short form simulations that range between 5 to 20 minutes in length. And they are really great at really helping to engage students' interest and attention while promoting them to understand science concepts and techniques in a digestible format. Last year alone, just to give you frame of reference, we released about 60 short form simulations, and we're not stopping there. We're going to continue rolling out new short form simulations, so definitely stay tuned for our short form simulations. Thank you so much, and I'll now pass it on to Joseph.
Hey everyone, great to see you on this call. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the simulations, as Isabel mentioned. So over the last 3 months, I worked together with a group of really talented scientists, engineers, designers, artists to bring these simulations to life. So there's a real bunch of expertise gone into creating these. So Isabel, if you want to move to the next slide. I'll talk about them individually. So Earth's atmosphere is one that we're very proud of. It's a very beautiful sim, very atmospheric. We can't wait for you to try it out because it's just so much fun. So essentially what this simulation is about is the student is tasked with exploring the composition of Earth's atmosphere over the last 4.5 billion years and how that's changed over time. So going back to the earliest periods of Earth, the Hadean period, you know, the composition of the atmosphere was very different then. And then they'll basically explore that up to the modern day. So they'll move along the timeline. They'll explore things like the Cambrian explosion of life, the Great Oxidation event, what all of those things meant for the composition of the Earth's atmosphere and kind of how they correlate. And then that will guide them right up to the present day, where we'll kind of clarify the exact composition of Earth's atmosphere, those gases, and why they're important the way they are and how they're important to life. We created lots of really high fidelity 2D art for this and 3D art. It's really beautiful sim. I think it's really going to engage your students and get them really thinking about the Earth and the atmosphere as this thing that's evolved, and it's just like an incredible sim to play, I think. So really excited about that one. Of course, aligned to the NGSS as well. Very important for us. So yes, the second simulation that I worked on over the last couple of months was human impacts on the water cycle. So this is an extended version of our previous sim on the water cycle. In the extended version, the students will of course learn about the water cycle as they did in our shorter water cycle simulation, all of those processes, they'll dive deep into that. But what this simulation adds as well is the focus on the human impacts on the water cycle and how essentially, yeah, how humans impact those different hydrological processes. So the simulation, the narrative is essentially the student is tasked with building a local city, and they need to balance the need of the population and building those houses with that local impact on the hydrological processes. So it's a balance, you know, how these things impact surface runoff and infiltration. It's trying to get the students to really consider the impacts that these things can have while then internalizing all of these different processes from the water cycle. It's kind of like a version of SimCity Lite. If you've ever played one of those city building games, it's a version of that where the student has to kind of weigh up their options, use parameter play, really think about the impact that their decisions are having on the water cycle. So it's a great one as well, very fun to play. Yeah, and the next slide, Isabel. So another one that we're really extremely proud of, I think, is the water wave simulation. So this is a very interactive simulation which will get students kind of acquainted with the key vocabulary they're going to need to categorize waves. As if there's any physics teachers on the call, waves are very central to a lot of things in physics. So we'll give them the vocabulary to explain things like amplitude, frequency, and wavelength, all through really interactive and engaging activities. So for example, the parameters like wavelength and amplitude, they'll explore how those relate to color, and they'll mess with a light bulb basically, and how the wavelength changes the color and the amplitude, the intensity. So it's very interactive, very fun, I think. Then they'll kind of move on to exploring the categorization of waves. So they'll look at longitudinal and transverse waves, as well as standing and progressive, and will display these things in a very 3D and interactive manner. As you can see potentially on the GIF there, it's a reaction-based game to try and get the students to really think about how the different wave types are visualized. So very, very, very cool simulation as well. I think the students will really enjoy the storyline we baked into this one. A lot of high quality 2D imagery as well that we've created, especially for this simulation. Yeah, we're very proud of it, and we hope you enjoy it. We can't wait for your students to play. And yes, I think Anastasia will be up next.
Okay, thank you so much, Joseph. Hi, everyone. I'm Anastasia, product manager for content. I'm really happy to present you these 3 simulations that we created for teaching the 3 Newton's laws of motion. So we created 3 simulations which are connected one to each other. And in all these 3 simulations, you will travel back in time, and you can experimentally directly working with Newton. Since we know that sometimes these kind of topics might be a little bit difficult also for the students to understand, and since our focus as a company is really to focus on the learning by doing, in each of these simulations, we created different challenges and different games where students can directly play with different parameters, for example, changing the forces or changing the masses, and they can directly see the result on the motion of the object, the acceleration, for example, and so on. In particular, in the first simulation, the one that you can see at the top left bottom of the top left corner of my slide, which is the one about the first Newton law of motion, we have as a goal, for example, one of the challenges is to reach the target zone that you see in the image, and you can select different forces. You can also change the masses, and even you can also change the surfaces, and you will see how these will impact on the motion of the object. So this way we can also introduce, for example, the friction, and just also include this kind of variable to the system. In the second one, the second that you can see at the bottom left corner, which is more on the second law of motion, we are the protagonist of the simulation is a car, which is pretty similar to the one which is the protagonist of the movie Back to the Future, if you remember it. And in this simulation, you as a student, you will play with different parameters, and you will see, for example, how changing the forces and changing also the mass will impact on the velocity of your object and also on the acceleration. The last one, the one on the right, while in this simulation, you can pull with Newton, which is something pretty impressive to say to your friends. And also while playing with by playing with Newton, you can also learn, for example, what is the conservation of momentum, and also understand the differences between elastic collision and inelastic collisions. And we are really excited about this simulation, and also please let us know what you think about that. And going to the next slide. Okay, here, okay, thank you. So this simulation is the only simulation that we released this quarter for biology. The topic is pretty important. So we are talking here about DNA, structure, and function. In this simulation, which is a short simulation, we really want to give the basics about the structure of DNA and the function of DNA. And since also connecting to the learning by doing also strategy, since we know that sometimes also showing a model is not enough, what you are asking students is really to build DNA strands themselves. So for example, as you can see in the image at the top right corner, we are asking them to build a nucleotide, and doing that, for example, we hope we can really clarify common misconceptions, like for example, what is the difference between a nucleotide and a base. And for example, in the second also part of the simulation, we created also for the pairing rules, instead of really asking students to simply memorize the kind of pairing rules, we created a game where students can challenge themselves and also finding the right match, for example, racing against the clock, and also they can also even challenge themselves more, because you can also modify the velocity of the game. Finally, at the end of the simulation, we are also introducing a little bit the connection between the DNA code and the protein synthesis. The idea is really to just help students connecting the dots. We don't want really to spend a lot of time really talking about the protein synthesis, because we have other components in our catalog which are really supposed to go in depth in that particular topic. And moving to the next one. Okay, this is one simulation which is part of the chemistry package instead. Here we're talking about the electrolysis, and in this simulation you will experiment with the electrolytic cells in a laboratory on Mars. What is important is that in this simulation, the student will learn, for example, how to build the apparatus, and we are also trying to make them reflecting on each step while they're building the apparatus. And also we want to really to be able to connect theory with practice. So together we're really helping them understanding how to create the apparatus. We created also some kind of different animation to show students what is really happening inside the apparatus. This way we can also we hope we can also have them really reflecting on what is really happening inside. And then I want to invite again Albin on stage. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anastasia. Yeah, I'm going to talk about 6 different chemistry simulations, and I'm not going to talk about all of them in detail. We have created basically 6 different simulations that are about focusing on different functional groups, tests for different functional groups. And these simulations are shorter. They are 10 minutes plus minus. They're designed to be easy and quick to do. They are very focusing on a practical experiment and learning and understanding of a procedure. So it's more lab oriented, what you would kind of simulating how you would do actual procedures in a lab, and then looking at molecular level, what is happening to the molecules, how the molecules change when they're used to detect a compound or a functional group. And we can take one example here. Next slide, please. Which is the bromine test. And here the setup is an engineer needs help analyzing what is actually in my different bottles, because bottles have got mixed up. We're learning how to do the bromine test and for unsaturated bonds, and you learn how to do the procedure, but the student also get to look at what's actually happening in the test tubes on a molecular level, and see how the color of the water is actually changing because of the chemical reactions that are happening on molecular level. And this is the type of all these 6 simulations follow more or less this structure. And I think they were going to be great for students who want to play something that is shorter and not take so much time out of the lesson. Thank you.
Thank you, Albin. That was awesome. I really appreciate you sharing all the new and chemistry simulations that we have launched this quarter. For every simulation that we offer a variety of lab supplements, and that includes everything from our short 3D animation videos that range between 1 to 5 minutes in length to our thousands and thousands of science images that can be incorporated in your teaching material, however way you see fit, to our quiz questions for every simulation. So technically, these lab supplements could be used and mix and match wherever and however you see fit to best align with your unique teaching style, whether it be in person, hybrid, or online. And on the next slide, please. One of our core pillars here at Labster is to provide equitable access for all. And how we're doing that is that we at Labster are committed to providing high quality simulations that benefits all types of learners. And this includes learners learning sciences in a different language. And one of the major things that I'd like to highlight and huge milestones that we hit recently at Labster is that we now have over 100, yes, you heard, triple digits here, 100 simulations in 5 languages. So we have translated simulations for English, Spanish, Italian, French, and German, which is really exciting. And we're not stopping there. We're going to continue rolling out new translated simulations and supplementary content on a rolling basis. So definitely stay tuned for our product webinars such as these to learn more. And on the next slide, on an exciting note, we recently launched a single and centralized student and educator platform that can be accessed through my.labster.com or through your learning management system. This is really great because this platform allows you to access everything you need, from improved search capability to find the simulations you need, to find the exact content, to our supplementary content as well, and viewing, tracking, monitoring students' progress as a whole, where you can see all your students' progress all in one, or on an individualized basis as well, and so much more, as you can see on this slide. On the next slide, this platform shows that we're also able to integrate into so many LMSs, and that includes, we are currently able to integrate into Canvas, Blackboard, Google Classroom, and Moodle. And I know that we're going to be releasing Brightspace, Sakai, and Schoology coming soon, so definitely stay tuned. But if you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to your Labster rep to ask how we integrate with your LMS. And if you have any questions about the timeline for Brightspace, Sakai, and Schoology. And here is an example of how we integrate into our Google Classroom. So please take it away.
Automatically be sent to your gradebook. You will also have access to the Labster dashboard, where you can view details about each of their attempts, including how long they spent on each question and how many tries it took to get the right answer. Have a seamless Labster experience when you integrate with Google Classroom.
Thanks so much. And I will now pass it on to Stina, who will be talking about iPads and Chromebooks. Take it away, Stina.
You're muted, Stina, I believe.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, no, so as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have plans to make an initial version of the simulations available on iPad. Again, if you're curious for what that means further, I definitely recommend you following up with the team internally or who your contact is at Labster, and we can definitely discuss more in a follow-up. But this is a super exciting step because it's something we've heard for a while from you all in market is critical, and we've talked about for a while. So we're really looking forward to laying the foundation for all of the high school customers as well as you. So any questions? Yeah, let us know.
All right, thank you, Stina. And I did just want to also mention, in terms of the learning management systems, we do integrate with all of the different systems that Isabel had mentioned, including Schoology and Sakai and Brightspace D2L. It's simply that we have a new integration opportunity that really allows you to essentially never leave your LMS. It's going to be a big improvement once it gets finalized and fully set up. So those others are coming soon, but very shortly, many of you will begin hearing about this new system, and going forward, I think it'll be a big improvement. Here, I would just like to mention that we are working hard to make Labster more inclusive and use inclusive design more so at the very beginning, at the root, when we start building simulations, whether it's making every single new simulation that we create fully accessible according to the WCAG AA guidelines, especially for hearing and visually impaired students. But it's part of our mission. If we're trying to bring world-class science labs to every student, no matter where they live, no matter who they are, this is very, very important to our mission. So always like to call that out whenever we can. And I'll also mention, we saw a little video at the top of the presentation today. We have several of these in-depth, deep dive interviews also with other teachers, high school teachers, using Labster in various ways. We've done a number of webinars in the past where you can just simply go on our website and see recordings of high school district administrators speaking about Labster and how they've used it. Less so of hopefully less of a sales tool and more of a way to get tips, advice, understand how others have used it, the different applications of Labster, creative uses for Labster. Hopefully that's something that you can take a look at. We also have a number of case studies that are simply sort of PDFs or blog articles that you can take a look at and learn how people in various countries. We have some from Spain or Latin America. We have case studies available from high school educators in Germany, even in German, that you can take a look at. So hopefully a lot of tips available for you there. And then for those who may not know, we do have professional development training opportunities available. You should get a full grounding when you become a Labster customer for the first time, and a walkthrough of how to use the platform, and hopefully more training opportunities from Labster directly. But there are opportunities for additional professional development for you and your colleagues, perhaps your entire school or your district. We partner with Better Lesson to sort of craft a solution to train everyone to teach with Labster in a way that is useful for them, because of course every teacher is different. Even if you're teaching the same class as one of your colleagues, you may approach the material differently. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's actually a good experience. So please reach out to your Labster representative if you haven't already about this training and these sort of PD opportunities. Did want to mention that we have a new refreshed help center. You can simply go to our website, labster.com, click on support or the help center link, and there are over 180 articles here, some in different languages, help for instructors, help for students, tips that you need if you get stuck, if you get confused at any point. So we're always there to help you. Also, our customer support team, you'll see a little chat in the corner of the screen on the website. They're there 7 days a week. So they're there to help you, your colleagues, your students, if things ever come up. And then finally, we want to partner with you. I think Labster has always had this approach where we work with teachers, instructors, administrators, faculty to create our simulations. What should we build next? What is more useful to you? How should we change these simulations to make it more helpful, more powerful, more flexible for your classroom? So we would love to hear from you. A big part of this is feedback. Just jumping on a simple call with us for 20 minutes even and sharing your feedback, your suggestions. Perhaps there are opportunities to collaborate in certain areas, and also to be an early tester. Do you want to be part of the first class of teachers who get to look at our new physics simulations or new biology simulations at the high school level, or frankly, the college level simulations if you're interested? So that's absolutely something that we can do. I put in that slido.com, slido.com, Labster-high school. You can enter your information. Simply reach out to us also, though, if you're interested at any point. We really are trying to speak with educators and our users as much as humanly possible these days. So great. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully this was a helpful tutorial and introduction to what's happening for Labster in the high school space. But now I would love if you log into that Slido, again, slido.com, and then enter the code Labster-high-school. We can answer some of your questions, and I invite anyone and everyone as on the Labster team to join as they are interested or as they see fit. But let's start down from the top here. What are some ways we can use the supplementary content Labster provides? I can answer that. Maybe Isabel, you have anything you'd like to share? Stina, I'll take the first pass. And that is to say, in a wide variety of ways. In some cases, we see teachers assigning the lab manuals and theory pages as almost a text because it includes the theory. Are you teaching meiosis and mitosis? Are you teaching, some new earth science concept or something out of physics? Can you assign the theory pages, that kind of mini textbook chapter in a way, beforehand to your students for them to read up on it, and then have them have the hands-on learning experience of playing the simulation? In other cases, it's simply a prep or a review after, either before or after playing the simulation or going into the actual physical wet lab. In the case of animation videos, it may be something that you play up on the projector in front of the class, or you can send students the videos and ask them to watch the video to help them refresh the concept, either before an exam, later on in the year, before a test, or when you're covering that material in the classroom or at home or around the same time that you're actually doing the simulation. The simulation can be great. Maybe it's 10 minutes, 20, 30, 40-minute simulation in some cases, but you can also assign them these other materials, print out the lab manual, take notes, mark things up. We have lab reports that you can send to them afterwards where they can write up what they learned. And we've quiz questions as well that you can turn into midterm exams or little mini pop quizzes or whatever else that you may need. So take a look at the different materials. They're available in different ways and different places on our platform. But take a look at some of the other resources that I mentioned, the case studies, to see how others are using these too. The next one I see is, can we check the duration of a simulation before assigning it to students? Yes, absolutely. That's available on the simulation webpage. You can just scroll down a little bit and take a look. So that is very simple. We're working on a way to actually filter, hopefully at some point on the website, by duration. If you just want to specifically look for those shorter simulations that might be 10, 15, 20 minutes long, you can absolutely do that. But yeah, it's in big font right next to the simulation name. You can see the estimated time to complete it. And of course, as with any Labster simulation, students can play it more than once. What do I have to look forward to the rest of the year with Labster? Well, hopefully we gave you a little bit of a preview here, but I don't know, Stina, would you want to come up and just say any other kind of final words on that topic?
Yeah, so I definitely can also share, if anyone wants to contact after, please leave your information in Slido because we can share a lot more details than we'll cover in this webinar. But I think as far as some things to look forward to, definitely increased content coverage, the device support, like I mentioned, that's a big one that we've been talking about in market for a while. Mark mentioned like enhancing part of the catalog search, so we know that how might we make it easier for teachers to plan their lessons once they're in the catalog, to figure out answering more of these questions related to supplements, like which ones do I plug and play for my lesson plan and when. So you can expect a lot more of that kind of built for teachers optimization. We're also exploring some aspects around like data integration. So we know you all are eager to figure out ways that teachers can, understand like the progress of students, that you can share that with district leaders or department heads. So I think you can expect to see more of that discovery work and a lot more quickly. So I can't wait for the next webinar when we have more updates to share with you all. But for now, please contact us if you have questions. We can definitely make sure that they answer.
Absolutely. And while you're up here, Stina, I think you've already referred to this a little bit, but that last question about iPads.
Yeah, so the simulations on iPads is an interesting one because we have to roll out essentially, we have, as you know, like a couple hundred simulations right now, and we can't sort of release them all because then maybe you all would be a little sad that we gave them to you in a way that you're like, this is broken. So we want to make sure that quality continues to be the main emphasis at Labster in the quality of the simulations we produce, the learning levels with NGSS, as Albin has mentioned. So we will be launching these in phases. Again, you can contact us. We'd love feedback on, as far as, ones that are more topically played, but we're focusing on the top priorities. So, when we look and see which simulations have been played the most or have been learned the most, like those are going to be the ones that we're going to be scaling out in phases. Yeah, so I would say the goal is by the early part of back to school, but I think we should please get in touch with the individual teams, and they will put you in touch with me again so that we can figure out how to make this work. I hope that answered it.
Perfect. That's great. I'll address that top question. How can I access the new platform? It depends a little bit on your school. If you are already a Labster customer, and the way in which you're accessing our simulations, we are one by one going through all of our different users, all the different schools and the teachers that use Labster, and we'll be converting them over to the new platform if you aren't already. So let's say, for instance, if you're a Google Classroom user, the next time you set up your class with Labster, you will have access to that new platform. Absolutely. We can set it up for you today, potentially, if you just reach out to your customer success manager or whomever else. That's something that shouldn't be a problem to get you set up, at least to look around and explore what we call our catalog, where it's essentially the instructor page, instructor side of the site. You can view all 250 plus simulations, screencasts for every single one. All of the teaching materials are all in there at my.labster.com. But I would reach out to your Labster representative, and they should be able to help you out with that potentially. But for some, it may be coming soon, and for others, it's already here. And then finally, I see a comment here. Is there a way to preview what you offer on your platform for free? The answer is yes, very much. Stina, I don't know if there's anything you would want to say about that, and maybe what's coming in some cases, but yeah.
Yeah, I state. So obviously we know that a lot of competitors offer very relevant and free content, but one thing that Labster is also very focused on is the quality of the content that we produce. So we're currently conducting a few aspects of discovery of what it might look like to offer certain parts of content for an option for free in the future. We don't have definitive plans right now to make this widely available in market, but it is something that you can expect to see more of in the coming months. So another one, if you're curious about this or you want to learn more, again, value the time, but let us know or ping one of the folks you're in contact with at Labster, and we'll be happy to help answer more. But
absolutely, and I'll just add to that to say that you absolutely can preview our entire catalog for yourself as an instructor without any sort of charge. Just reach out to us on the Labster website. We'll get you in touch with one of our representatives, and they'll get you set up in this new catalog system where it's essentially we're giving you the keys to the kingdom a little bit in our entire catalog, all the videos, all the simulations, and everything else that's and right there, by the way, you can see what is new. The newest content is marked as such. So you'll be able to filter through and learn more about some of the simulations that we talked about here today. So thank you so much. Hopefully this was helpful to everyone. Please go to labster.com to learn more, reach out to us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.